My name is Marcia Robinson, and we are recording an oral history with Jewell Clemons as part of the Sweet MUMories Oral History Project. This project marks the 50th anniversary of the Miami University Middletown, Ohio campus. This interview is taking place on December 9th, 2016 at the Gardner Harvey Library. Mrs. Clemons, do I have your consent to proceed with this interview?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. Could you please tell us what Miami University means to you and to your family?
Yes, Miami University is like a family to me, and I was very pleased to be able to come to the campus versus go to a vocational training type school, because I felt like I would do better in this academic atmosphere. And I did receive my degree here, and a cum laude degree, and it was very special to my family and me because I had survived a very serious motor vehicle accident and at the time I had sufficient memory loss, and I wasn't really sure if I still had the capability to learn in an academic setting. So my family was very encouraged, but not really sure exactly how it would work out since I'd been out of school for several years. So anyway, I was able to continue my education and graduate cum laude. So we were all very excited about that. And then two of my grandchildren have also attended classes here. My oldest grandson, he and I took one of the same classes, which was a history of jazz. So that gave us like a little intergenerational connection to discuss how much we both enjoyed that class. And also he's very into computers, and I was able to share with him my textbook on the introduction to the computers and how big they used to be, and he was pretty interested in seeing that information. He had no idea what, the initial computers were like and how big they were, and they might be take up the space of a whole room, and now you can actually use your computer on your cell phone now. So it's been very interesting for our family to connect around some of my experiences at Miami.
What year did you graduate?
1999.
And what was your major?
Sociology.
At what level?
It was I received an associate degree in sociology.
Thank you. Some people have talked about the computers and being so large. Did you ever use the computer lab when, what were the computer facilities like when you started here?
Well, we did have a computer lab, and our assignments in this introduction to computer science using the internet, we had a lot of exercises that we had to go to the computer lab to work on, that we can use for our class. So it was a very important part of that class. We had assignments on a daily basis.
Do you remember what kind of computers they were?
I'm pretty sure they were all Dell computers, if I remember correctly.
Okay. My next question is, could you tell us some more about some of your professors?
Yes, well, that particular class I was telling you about, the computer science class, was actually taught by Dr. Kathy Bishop Clark. And I saw her recently on a newsletter and see that she was, I think, an assistant dean or an acting dean, and so I was very happy to see that she was still with the campus. And we had a lot of interaction with, all of the students, in our homework assignments, and she was an excellent instructor. I had I think I took something from each instructor that I had at Miami. Like, say for instance, even just starting with study skills. Julie Shade was the instructor of that particular class, and really realize how important that is when you've been out of school for a while to develop those good study habits. And the class taught like, say for instance, maybe you're in a room where you've got surrounded by all these family pictures, and then you're studying, and you say, I remember that picture. So you really want to be in an area where it's distraction free. I know a lot of younger people like to study and listen to music and things like that, but I wasn't that kind of a student. And one of the things that I learned from Julie Shade was about, and I still use it today, is organizing your shopping list by department. So that you're not running over here to get this, running over here to get that. And so whenever I have, especially when I have to send somebody else to pick up something for me, and it's a substantial list, it's all organized by brand name. If there's, and I even have the cost if I know it, and you know, if I will accept another brand, so there's no room for confusion. And I really appreciated that. And also that particular class taught us how to use the library resources for research projects, and that was the day when I was telling you about when the wheel came off my chair. We were on our way over here to learn how to use the library system. So whenever we had to do research projects or papers for our classes.
Could you tell us more about that day?
That day we were going, I said I was very pleased with the acceptance of and help and support of all the traditional students. So at that particular time, there was a substantial hill between Johnston Hall and the library. So two fellow students were dutifully pushing me up the hill when one of the rim came off the tire of my front right wheel. And so we were all flabbergasted, you know, because we had the whole class, we were all coming to the library as a group. But anyway, it just so happened that there were two young men in the doorway who had been working in the computer lab. They came out and they just, you know, rolled me in on the wheel, you know, holding this side up. Then they went in the computer lab to find some tools to put my tire back on the rim for me. So the rest of my class went on up to the library while I had to stay down there to get my chair fixed. But everything, you know, everybody was just so supportive. Anytime I had a problem, needed a door open, because they didn't have automatic doors everywhere then. There was always somebody to move a chair, to open a door, close the door, whatever I needed. There was always somebody to do that for me, and I really appreciated that. It really made me feel like a part of the campus. That's one of the things I loved about here is inclusion. You know, they had things that everybody could come to, like the Crazy Hat Day and little special things in Johnston Hall, and then they had you know, the soul food luncheon that they used to have. I don't know if they still have it. I've been back for a while. They still do that, and you know, the other movies that they would have for Black History Month, and I thought that was really something special for me. And I just was really impressed with almost every instructor that I had. Dr. Cynthia Lewicki Wilson was my professor for English 111, and she encouraged us to write stories about ourselves. And you just don't realize how many stories there are in your life. And then you start to write them down, and then other people think that they're interesting, that it encourages you to write more. We wrote journals, we wrote stories, and there was, you know, the contrast between 111 and 112 was 112 I didn't enjoy as much because I didn't really feel like I was that skilled as interpreting other people's writings as I was just writing about my life experiences and, you know, growing up in Middletown, and stories like going to Dayton on the bus shopping with my sister. And to me, it was as exciting as going to New York for someone else, and going fishing with my grandmother and things of that nature. There were just so many experiences that you don't realize that somebody would be interested in hearing about until you write them down, you share them with the class, and they let you know, they give you feedback and let you know how they feel about them. I was also impressed with the history on the college level. I think it's so much like an expanded version from what you get in high school, where you just touch on it. It gave me a better understanding of what the interaction between the Native Americans and the colonists were. Actually, how the Native Americans actually had to help the colonists learn how to survive in the new land, you know, planning, you know, fishing and hunting and things of that nature. Whereas when you see the old Western movies, I think they depict Native Americans in a more negative light. You know, it's always the cowboys against the Indians. And you know, I think in people's minds, they may get together, may gather the information and think that this was the only interaction they had. But when for a while, they actually were getting along. They had a peaceful coexistence for a while until the dominant culture decided, we want your land. We don't really need you anymore. We know what we need to know. And I just think that that part of history is unfortunate.
One of the visions of the committee that decided to bring the campus to this city is that they wanted a liberal arts institution to help expand the horizons of the children and the adults in Middletown. Can you tell us more about growing up in Middletown and how the campus might have served its purpose of expanding horizons?
I really think that that's true, because I think, for one thing, I think the African American community and the white communities were very separate when I was growing up, with the exception, you know, if we lived in that particular school district, we attended that same school. But as far as the interaction of us, you know, like, say for instance, the children that we went to in our class, they were not going to be coming to our houses for our birthday parties or things of that nature. I think the diversity at the campus and making everybody feel equal and accepted, I think that is one of the attractions to the campus, where everybody is important, everybody is equal. You have your right to your opinion. You have your right. They try to be supportive of any of you know, the activity that you're involved in. They make you welcome to be a part of whatever is going on at the campus. You can decide to be as little involved or as much involved as you want to be. And I think and also to be able to take classes at different times, fit classes around people's work schedule, and, you know, work with you to do what they can to help you to succeed at your own rate and at your own level. And I think that is one of the biggest draws of like a college, you know, in Middletown versus like not have to go to a campus and stay on campus.
In two stories, you told us about the support that students receive and the sense of inclusion. Can you talk about some of the accommodations that the university made to make sure that you get what you need here?
Right. Well, one of the most important things is financial aid. You know, you have your counselors to make you aware of what's out there that you can apply for, to help you understand the deadlines. I don't know exactly how the financial forms are handled now. I know a lot of things are online. But back then, you know, most of the applications were paper applications with deadlines. Make sure you understood that, and that you could always come to them if you had a problem. There's whatever area that you had a concern about. It's like they would have somebody with expertise to discuss that with you. So you never had to feel like you were alone. There was always somebody there who would support you, whether you feel like you were fitting in, whether you had a personal problem, a health issue, need special accommodations, as I often did. And I was really impressed at the speed at which they got all the automatic doors, you know, in, so I could go in and out freely. And like I said, I was really impressed with the fact that they didn't really feel like it was a bother, like make you feel like, oh, it's a great inconvenience because we have to do this for you. It's like they were willing to just go the extra mile to make everybody feel comfortable and accepted. And I think that was really a great part of a local campus.
Did that accommodation and adjustment continue all the way through to
It
the
did.
end of your career? Can you tell us
did.
about graduation day?
Okay, graduation day is very exciting. It's one of the few times that I had ever been over to the Oxford campus, but I had been in touch with the people who were in charge, and Linda, was spearheading everything to make sure that I would be able to go across the stage with the other students and get my degree. And when I got there, everything was already set up. They had rented the necessary equipment, like a small elevator for me to be, I could go in, and it took me up to the stage level so that I could go across the stage and actually receive my degree, so that my degree, so my family and friends could see me get my degree. And we were all very excited about that.
You mentioned Linda. Can you tell us more about your relationship with Linda Watkins? How did you meet and what happened?
Well, she was the
Linda Watkins.
Yes, Linda Watkins was the coordinator of counseling and disability services. So not only was she making sure the campus was accessible to me, she was also helping me, to stay on track for graduation. And I remember she knew that I played Scrabble with my friends on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So one day we were sitting in her office, and she said, "Do you realize if you gave up one of your Scrabble nights, you can actually graduate? You can actually graduate in May." I said, "I'm there. I'm doing it. Let's do it." So we did. I rearranged my Scrabble schedule so that I could graduate, and it was really very exciting. She was very excited for me to be able to go ahead and get that, and we were working toward me completing my bachelor's, but at that particular time, you couldn't complete your bachelor's at the Middletown campus. You had to go to Oxford. So that would present another set of obstacles for me as far as, getting over there. And then, as I said, one of my family members became seriously ill, and I had to take over managing her household and finances for her. And between that, managing my life and my disability and church activities and all the things I needed to do for myself, I did complete the first year of my bachelor's, but I knew to get back to finishing my second year.
We now offer 16 bachelor's degrees and 1 master's degree at the regional campus. How will that change Middletown City?
I think it'll be the same way. There still are students who don't have transportation. There's still students that are living at home, some still working part-time. I think that will facilitate a lot more students to be able to complete their education, rather than if they have to, worry about how am I going to get to Oxford, and also the cost if they were to stay on campus. I think that will make a big difference in Middletown. I think that'll enable a lot more people to complete their education.
Could you please tell us about any other students facing physical disabilities and how Miami made an impact on their lives?
Well, I did have a friend who later in my college career was injured in an automobile accident too, and so he wasn't able to come back to school, but that was always his goal and his dreams, and he had to get out of the rehabilitation facility so he could come back to school. So we would go and visit him and take him little mementos from school, like a hat and different little things, and just to keep him encouraged, to let him know they wanted to make him realize that whatever he was able to come back, whatever accommodations that he needed, that the campus would be here for him as they were there for me. And he was really looking forward to that. Unfortunately, he became more ill and passed away, and he wasn't able to come back, but that was always his dream. And when he passed away, Miami even had a presence at his funeral. He had his Miami cap on in the coffin, and he also had a beautiful bouquet of flowers from the Miami family, and his family was very pleased about that too. And he had a fiance, and she also expressed to me, how much Miami meant to him, and she was very glad that, the presence was still there, even, when he could no longer come back to school.
What advice do you have for students, whether they're traditional aged or non-traditional age, so that they will also be successful here?
Well, first of all, they have to believe in themselves. They have to want to do it. be willing to make the sacrifice of time, and to be able to realize that this is for you. This is for now. You have to basically invest in yourself, and don't be intimidated by it. Just start slow, go at your own pace, and just don't give up on your dream. Just keep doing. A journey begins with one step. A building starts with one brick. Just continue, and don't give up. And just there's enough information out there now, and it's so much more accessible. If you don't know, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's always somebody there that can show you and help you with financial aid or whatever you need. I think the opportunities are there. You just have to go get them.
What is it about Miami Middletown in the first 50 years that you hope we keep for the next 50 years?
I hope that this campus will always maintain its open-minded policy with inclusion, that you will always have be in a manageable class size so that you don't feel like you're a number. And I think that is one of the nice things about a smaller campus is, you can know the people, you'll know the people that work at the bookstore. You can know your professors, develop a relationship with them that you can, so that I think my professors always seem to be very accessible, very accommodating. If you needed, special help, if you needed extra time, if you needed to be absent or whatever, they were willing to work with you, and I think that is really important. Where I actually have never been in a class where they've had 100 people, and I've heard that, and I think that in a class that size, I think I would feel like I was a number. I don't really feel like I would just be, as important part of the class as I would in a smaller community college where you would have smaller classes.
Is there anything that you want future researchers to know about Miami University Middletown?
I think that I want people to realize what a really wonderful campus that Middletown has. I consider it a stellar institution that can produce stellar students, and it's not to minimize that it's a smaller campus or that it's local, but you can still get the same quality of an employee or administrator that you need from Miami Middleton that you could get anywhere in any other larger city or any other larger campus.
I'd like to go back in time a bit. You said you graduated in 1999. Were you here during any of the economic recession, and did you see a change in who the students were in the class during the recessions?
No, I wasn't aware of any of the problems that were associated with the economic recessions in Middletown. And because students come and go, and they change, and they drop and they add, you don't really know the types of problems or issues that other students are having. It's like, sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. Then sometimes you hear that they've dropped or that they've changed their career for you. You don't really know exactly what's going on when you're at a campus this size, especially when you are non-traditional. Probably maybe the younger students who are, in the same age range, they may know more about what's going on with the other students, but I don't think the non-traditional students are always aware of what's going on around and how they affect the attendance or the progression of the students, whether they matriculate or not.
How does that affect the environment between students in the classroom?
I'm not sure about that. Sometimes I think that maybe a younger student may feel like, well, if I don't finish this class, if I don't pass this class or whatever, I can take it again later. I think the more non-traditional students are more likely to stick it out and realize like this is a second time around for us. We need to get this now. And also, you might be raising a family, have maybe even more than one job, whereas a student who has not lived on their own or doesn't have to be totally responsible for their own finances, they might have a different outlook. Like if I don't get it now, I can get it later, or I can always come back, or I can always do this. But I think non-traditional students don't always feel that way.
Your degree is in sociology. How has that changed your outlook on people?
My outlook on people has changed a lot through completing my sociology classes, because originally I had also taken psychology classes before that time. It gave me a better understanding of, first of all, of group dynamics. It expanded my feeling on cultural diversity as in accepting of people as human beings. What they do or do not do, what they believe or do not believe, is strictly up to them. You can separate the person from what there is about them that you don't know or understand or like, and whether you know or understand it or not, you still need to treat everybody with the same respect that you would appreciate being treated as. And as we have discussed at different times, the opinion that I had of people who were in gangs years ago had dramatically changed when I understood the psychology of sometimes of group members who are in a gang, that it is the place where they got love and acceptance for the first time. They feel like somebody understands them. They feel like they are needed. They're really a part of something. Some people are in a family, they don't feel like they're a part for several reasons. You never know what's going on. Each family has their own dynamics, problems, issues, whatever. And so I have more empathy overall for people in general. Whether I sympathize with it, understand it, at least I can respect that. Look for cause and effect. Like, well, that person is like that, but you don't know what they've been through. You don't know why they are the way they are. So I try to look at people, especially people with problems, in a different light altogether than I ever have, more broad-minded.
Is there anything else that you want to add to the record for this interview?
No, I really have enjoyed, I did thoroughly enjoy my campus experience, and I think I took something from each class, and that's rare, from each professor's, from their teaching style, from their interaction. I didn't think that I would really enjoy zoology. I wasn't really even sure what it was, but Dr. Alan Cady made it so exciting and so interesting, and I am still, to this day, an avid recycler because of his, how he projected how we need to take care of our environment. I personally don't feel like we're going to run out of anything, because I believe that there's somebody bigger than us in charge of the whole scheme, a supreme being. But I don't think that he cares that we recycle, and I think it makes sense. And to think about how is a can, a stainless steel can, how is it going to degrade until it becomes something else? All these landfills and landfills and landfills. Why fill them up more if we don't have to? So I think recycling makes sense, and just how he presented every phenomenon in the classroom with his colored chalk on the board, and he was just really a very dynamic instructor for that type of class. And I even, in the botany class, to see all the different, it was it's like being able to take a journey outside of even the country, to see the different types of plants and animals that live and thrive in other areas of the world. That was very exciting to me. And even geology, how rocks are actually formed. And it's so much more than rocks, how much they covered streams and rivers and all kinds of things like earthquakes and things like that. There are even so many different types of volcanoes. You think of a volcano, you just think of this one. There's all different types of volcanoes depending on where they are. And I just really was happy to feel like I actually took something from each professor, each class. And I think that learning never ends. I'm always open to, learning things. Every now and then you get a chance to share something with somebody, and I really enjoyed that.
Do I have your permission to discontinue this interview?
Yes, you do.
Thank you
I
very
hope
much.
I have contributed something valuable for you.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.